This episode of the podcast is sponsored by my book, We Stand on the Shoulders of Titans, Amnesia. And welcome to this week's fun show, where today we're going to be talking about a very controversial thing. We're going to be talking about feminism, specifically the difference between original feminism that was written by Mary Wollstonecraft in her philosophy and modern ideal feminism. Because what we've seen in the past 70 years, where Mary Wollstonecraft was someone who stood for the sovereign individual, similar to what Locke stood for, and she advocated for women being capable of controlling their own emotions. That doesn't mean shutting down the emotions, but controlling the emotions. And by mastery of this, women should be able to stand at the same level as men, which I agree with. This is a positive way of looking at the relationship between men and women. If a woman is capable of doing this, then we've seen this in our current society as well. They're fully capable of doing the exact same job as men, as long as it doesn't include like physical work, because at that stage there's always going to be limits, right? On that note, how do you two feel about feminism?
I mean,
Well, feminism right now is a massive waste of time because it's not about raising women up. It's turned into dragging men down, which just puts people against each other, which doesn't serve anybody in the end.
I believe everybody should have equal rights, be able to do what they want to do. But then there's a step too far, and as you kind of highlighted there, physical activity, maybe, for some people, for women, physical activity in terms of strength isn't going to be on par with a man's. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's when basically it's like saying a man can have a child. It's not going to happen, kind of thing. So there has to be a
They're
degree, a
trying.
barrier. Yeah, they are trying exactly, and this
It
is
doesn't
where
work.
you're getting all these movements coming in. You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
it's like it gets ridiculous to a point. You know what I mean? Because it becomes a matter of the individual wanting to then assert themselves and make themselves look stupid in public.
That's I think that's less feminism, more woke stuff. That's just saying
Yeah.
it's feminism.
Yeah,
Because what they're doing is like basically they're turning it into its antonym. So basically they're turning men into women and women into men at this point.
Yep.
mhm,
So
yeah.
feminism itself is just it's an umbrella term for the boss lady kind of ideal, right? Like every woman should become a boss lady, sovereign individual. And reading Mary Wollstonecraft philosophy, like in the 18th century when she wrote it, it was like during the time of the French Revolution. She wrote this in England because she herself is English. She then went to France in order to see if she could prove her philosophy. So her philosophy was discipline, control over her own emotions, and the freedom to choose what she wants to do in life, right? So she went to France, she came to Paris, and in Paris she met a man, an adventurer. And that should already kind of tell you the type of man that he was, because if a man is an adventurer, that means he's not going to stick to one place. And she fell for him a bit too much. And due to emotions being fickle, instead of controlling her emotions and understanding whether or not this could be a long-term relationship or something that was actually stability, she just slept with him. Kind of like if you look at hookup culture nowadays, that type of behavior, something that modern feminists say that was the good side of it. But the reality is what came after that. She got pregnant, and the man, being who he is, instead of marrying and everything, taking responsibility, walked away because that's what they do. Like men, when you give them the easy option, they're going to choose the easy option, and then they would just walk off. This is a very common thing. We see this in
Yeah.
today's society as well.
Well,
Anyone will
see,
take the easy
I would
option. Yeah.
interject. I would interject there. There's some men that will actually be, morally high standing and stick around even if they seen it wasn't
Okay, but
their
that's not the
fault.
point.
Yeah. No, I know. I just
Yeah,
wanted to interject with that.
if society allows it, most people will take the path of least resistance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're talking about morally, but then you have the problem of anchor babies. there are women that will quite literally try to get knocked up in order to force a man to stay with them.
Well,
Yeah.
you had another thing as well back in the Middle Ages where you would have women try to increase their social status by getting pregnant with noblemen. So they
That
try
too,
and
yeah.
it was basically like anchor babies, but with the aristocracy.
That's what happened with Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And his mate.
Really?
Really?
You guys don't know? He got his.
No, I know he had an affair, but
Yeah, it was with a mate, right?
yeah, I know about that, but I didn't know it was for like an anchor baby or something like that.
Not necessarily an anchor baby, but if you think about the mentality, this is a man quite significantly older with a very high position, like he was the governor of California at some point, right?
Oh, right, no, I see what you get. Yeah, okay.
Because she's
No,
talking about
that's fair enough.
nobility and stuff like it's kind of a similar position, right? It's a position of power, and she tried to sleep her way up by doing
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's why you get groupies as well in this day and age.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And then going from that point, the way Mary's life went is that she did get pregnant. She gave birth. The man, she kept on trying to get him to step up, take responsibility. It didn't happen. And then we get to the dark side of this thing. We see this with quite a lot of modern standards as well, like depression, anxiety, and she tried to commit suicide, not just once, but twice, which show correlation, right? Like bad decisions where she can't what she wants, can't have what she wants, and then she chooses the almost extreme option, despite the fact that she is a child and she is a mother at that stage, right?
Mhm.
Which is against her own philosophy. Like if you read her actual book, this is against what she actually stood for. But this is the difference between men and women. Women are just more emotionally orientated, which means they are more fickle against like pressure. So the emotions are the intent to overwhelm. Like if you think about, for example, if a woman gets under high pressure, they get caught with something. What is a natural reaction? It's usually crying, right?
Yeah.
Or at least getting very emotional. Yeah.
Exactly. Like this
Yeah.
is a normal biological reaction of a woman. If she shows weakness, men will tend to be a bit more lenient in history, right? But
And
we're
they'll try
now
to
in a
help out.
society. Yeah, but now we're in a society where men are like, no, we're not having this, and women are starting to understand like there are serious consequences for this type of behavior. Which this is the equality. Like if you want to be measured the same as men, then you're going to have those discussions. So it's a very interesting point where modern feminists have taken the initial step of her sleeping around, well, not really sleeping around, but because she was very attracted to this man and she thought that this was mutual. Whereas men tend to think more with the lower half sometimes. That's just real. Like
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah,
men.
that's why
So
it's called a second brain.
Yeah, it's like
yeah,
the little head. Yeah.
The second
But I
brain.
think part of it was when it comes to things like universal suffrage as well, it's like it comes across to me as they wanted the benefits with none of the responsibility that came with it.
yep, I agree with that.
Mm.
It's just the
Just-
lowering of standards.
Just to ask a question, and maybe it's going to sound stupid, but is this know where the kind of suffragettes and stuff like that came from?
That was like
The what?
the first major feminist movement, the suffragettes.
Yeah, for World War. What was it before World War One or World War
Yeah, no,
Two?
it was. I think it's between World War and World War II, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The first movements were already in the 1800s, like
Right. Okay.
20s, I believe,
No,
1920s.
oh no, wait, I'm thinking of the English one. So
Okay, because I was confused there for a second.
yeah, no, because I know the English one because like Churchill was very famously against it, but his wife was for it. So like, he said to his wife like, I don't agree with it, but feel free to go and do it.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So
I'm not. Yeah.
it was for campaign for the right to vote between 1906 and 1914, and it was led by Emmeline Pankhurst, and the Women's Social and Political Union. So yeah, it's maybe like the nearest thing I can think to of a kind of feminist movement. If that's
It
makes
was
sense.
the original feminist movement in the UK.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But quite interesting, yeah, definitely, and it's kind of they did like, and they did deploy tactics like civil disobedience and window smashing and things like that.
No,
Marching.
that was a different one. You had the suffragettes and the suffragists, The suffragists were more, I believe, if I remember this correctly, they were more for doing the more hardline tactics of, causing property damage, that kind of thing. The suffragettes were mostly just, handing out flyers, maybe doing the
Like
occasional
passive,
rally.
so kind of
Yeah, well,
passive.
maybe not passive, maybe not passive, but more peaceful about it. Yeah, but the suffragists were the ones who got a bit more up in arms about it.
Hmm.
I think that was right. If anyone finds out and corrects me, by all means, because my memory is a bit spotty on that.
Yeah, it's funny here because I'm reading about the impact of protests, and it's saying events like Black Friday, and all I've got in my head is a sale of a a bit of tech or something like that. So Black Friday's been completely meaning twisted in it. You know what I mean? Brilliant.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But that is where we're heading, right? Like, you had the same with the Nazis that abused Friedrich Nietzsche's work. You had the same with the Jacobins during the French Revolution that used Rousseau in order to justify their atrocities. And now we have the same with the feminists that are, well, abusing Mary Wollstonecraft's craft, like a vindication of the rights of women, which, in my opinion, is a very, very good work. Like, I agree with almost everything that's in there because I do genuinely believe that if a woman is willing to take those steps, then she can definitely reach the heights that she stood for. But
Yeah.
the side effects are obviously difficult emotions. Like women are just more. There's the exception, obviously, but we have to generalize this because if you generalize, you have society. You cannot build society around the exception. You need to generalize with this. So for this generalization, like most women, even her including, she was a very brilliant mind, obviously, a philosopher, very good work. But this was her end conclusion, and eventually, after those two suicide attempts, she did manage to get back up. She found a different man, and then she ended up dying of childbirth. But before that, she did write that for a woman in her philosophy, you would still need to pursue not necessarily traditional marriage, but a marriage that's not based around emotion. And I think that is the biggest problem that we have in society today. That almost all of, at least feminism, from what I'm hearing, is basing it around emotion alone, which is why our divorce rates are so high.
Yeah, isn't it basically around first impressions? It's like,
Yeah,
oh, you're
that
hot,
too.
and so you're hot. Let's hook up.
Yeah,
That's
that
what
too.
like hookup
Yeah.
culture is all about, isn't it? Because
Yeah. But I mean, you get
it's not even about forming a relationship. It's just about getting off,
Yeah,
basically.
sometimes you get like even people saying, "Oh, she only got the position she's in because she looks good." You know what I mean? And that's like very derogatory because you don't know what that woman's what kind of work's been put in the background to get to the
Well, that
position
is
maybe they're in. Women in power, I'm talking about. More exit to be more precise. But
you've got that, but that also sparks into a bit of a tangent. But things like DEI, where people get put into positions because of inherent characteristics rather than the suitability for the role. So you can look at, like, say, a woman in any random position and go, did she get that job, or did she earn that job, or was she just given it because she's a woman, or because she's black, or because she's gay, or something like that? And that kind of cloud's going to hang over everybody except for pretty much straight white men, because everyone's going to be thinking, well, we know affirmative action exists, and some people are just given positions that they don't deserve, and the only ones who haven't had to do that are straight white men. So when you look at a straight white man in a job, they've earned it because they get no leg up. But everybody else could potentially have been given a leg up, which casts a shadow over everybody, especially those who actually genuinely earned it.
Yeah,
Which
and
it's not fair on those who actually earn it.
Yeah, I mean that's a position should always be in from merit. You should always have something behind you to get to the position that you're in, especially in the work life. You know what I mean? But even in family life and stuff like that, you should always be able to put work in to get the results. To have a nice home, to have a nice family. You've got to raise your kids right and stuff like that as well. So you've got to put work in every background. To get the results out that you want, essentially. You know what I mean? If you don't, then you're just
It'd be nice, but then again, it's like we're in a society now of instant gratification, so they want to get the stuff without putting the work in, which doesn't help
Yeah,
anyone in the long run.
it's a
But
death
again,
of meritocracy.
I think that is what happened with a bit of going back to feminism. You had some people, some women who wanted all of the benefits without any of the work or any of the responsibility that comes with it, and that just breeds a sense of entitlement then, which
Mhm.
is unfortunate because then the reason why they wanted it in the first place ends up getting lost.
Yeah. Do you not get the same with the man that as well? Like you get
I mean,
men who
in other
don't want to do that as
other
well.
in other aspects you can, but we're talking about specifically about feminism there. But yeah, men can get it as well, instant gratification. I mean, hookup culture in general is instant gratification for both sexes because it's
Yeah.
less about, because if you think about when people were having sex, what, like 50 to 100 years ago, you didn't meet someone and then just immediately roll into bed. There was a whole courtships and like
Let's go back a bit further than that, though. This already happened 100 years ago.
all right, well,
What do you mean?
200. Let's all right. Let's 500 years ago then. Okay, so
Yeah.
there was always some courtship involved. You know, if you found to be sleeping with someone out of wedlock, you would be like seen as a town pariah. Some people would even get run out of towns or villages because they were much more close knit then.
Yeah.
Because by necessity that it is nowadays. So you'd have people who would get run out of town because they were seen as the village slut. And now that counts for the men as well, because the men would get it just as bad as the women, because they were seen as breaking the moral standards of the time. But it's morphed over time now. It's like you don't even have to know someone's name. You can just meet someone at a bar at a club and then just have a one night stand. And I mean, if that's the lifestyle you want to live, great. But I don't think it's good in the long run for getting relationships.
I mean,
What's
there's
that?
science in that as well, right? Because if you go and sleep around, your brain already starts adjusting because you fail to understand what a real relationship is. There's
Yeah.
a lot of
Uh,
science on this.
Is there not like I wouldn't call it a game, but is there not like a thing where you can go down, sit at a table, and you've got like 20
S-
seconds to get to know
Speed
each other?
dating.
Yeah,
Speed
yeah,
date.
that's
Well,
what that's
that's
what
no,
I.
that's another aspect. Of the same thing. It's still going for instant gratification because it's
Yep.
like you're not. It's like it's taken the entire concept of courtship and condensing it into 20 seconds, and then you jump from one to the next. It's like if you're doing real courtship, you'd be doing this for months, maybe even a year or something like that. And often the families would get involved as well to see, to see if there's compatibility between the families,
Yep.
because there was a lot more. There's a lot more investment in it because it meant more to the families and sometimes even the local community for people to be, getting into relationships. Uh, because we've now got a more somewhat decentralized society, there's less of an aspect of that. I mean, mostly now, like the whole, the whole trope in like a romantic comedy film where the dad often leans on the prospective boyfriend when he's on a date, to like shows him a shotgun and like makes him make him sweat a little bit or something like that. That's mostly done as a
Yeah,
joke now, as like a punchline. But that used to be done very very seriously between the families, and not just the dads, but the mums as well would also
yeah,
do that with the with the prospective son or daughter-in-law. Uh, so it just shows how it's morphed from more of a long-term investment into just something like a commodity at this point.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you will hear stories as well of like people who talk about, oh, I didn't like him or I didn't like her. She just didn't seem right for my son or my daughter kind of thing. And it kind of splits people apart, even though the two people involved might be actually right for each other. A lot of people can get dissuaded by their families because their families don't like that person, and it can I don't know, in my opinion, I think it can be quite heavily influenced from a family perspective. If your family doesn't like the person you're with, then it can cause a lot of, arguments within the family unit.
Yeah, no,
I
it
mean, it's
definitely
also
can do.
to have accountability, right? Like if the family has certain options, then they also see character. Like one of the best examples that I often have, because I have a pretty big family, is that men can see their issues with other men, whereas women tend to be, at least from my experience, I have a lot of sisters, right? They tend to be a bit more blind towards the red flags of certain men, and then just having a good time. Like
Well,
that is kind of like
don't
balance.
you have like the all women like bad boys trope? Like I can fix
Not
them.
necessarily that, but it's the same
Or
with like women.
is that more
Women,
of a modern day thing though?
If we're getting
it
down to the
is.
bat out of hell, let's go a bit of meatloaf with bat out of hell. You know what I mean?
Okay,
That
that's more
kind of
modern,
story.
yeah. But it's more like it's the same with women. Like they can understand what type of woman they at least want to be part of the family, right? Obviously, you can go against it and then have this Romeo versus Juliet type of idealism. But more often than not, if you really want a good marriage, you do need to have like the family on board. And if you don't, then you're kind of on your own, right? Because
It is an investment. You do have to take your time with it because you're not going to find out everything about a person in 20
exactly,
seconds or even a couple of dates. You need to
Yeah.
do it because you need to find out, well, one, if you're compatible, what you like over time, because people always they try to put the best foot forward initially, but you only get to see what the mask is, what the true like once the mask is slipped for a bit. You need to see if you're sexually compatible as well.
Yeah.
um but you need to take the time to find all that out. A lot of people just skip
But
it and
there's
go
also,
like, oh god.
sorry, I was going to say there's a lot of ceremony as well behind things. So, for example, marriage, and a lot often times, families will pay for these marriages and these ceremonies, no matter what kind of ethnicity or whatever's coming from. Um, they'll pay for the actual ceremonies themselves to take place. So I guess from that point of view, the families, it is an investment for them as well because they want to make sure that if they're going to spend money on something, then it's going to last a long time, and they want to make sure that the relationship's mutual.
That's become less of a thing now, I think, but it's still overall
Would you would you
they
not say like,
still have an interest in it, but it's more like nowadays
yeah,
the people like the people do the actual groom and bride will do most of it themselves.
yeah? But what about in like Eastern communities? Is it not quite big there still?
It's still big over there. It's like the more conservative side of it, yeah. But in the West, it's become much less important.
Yeah, I guess to take it maybe even a step further, and like for example, there can be cases of honor killings, for example, where
that is so off topic, Dave.
well, I was going there because it kind of goes to the place where when does it become a step too far? When do they become too invested?
Yeah, but honor
When do
killings have
families become
nothing
too
to do with
fast?
this topic.
I mean,
Well,
yeah, it's like that's jumping to a massive extreme.
Yeah, to an extreme. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
way
and
too
it's
much of a jump.
yeah, because it's like you've got some cultures where it's like they see the wife as the property or something like that. Or but I mean, that's kind of like if you step back a bit, it's like where the dowry is involved, isn't it? It's like
mm,
because it's like the family would be kind of selling the daughter in a sense. No, I mean
yeah,
not quite as crudely as that, but it's done as a way because like you're taking our daughter away from us, so we want some, we want to know that you can provide for our daughter. Um, if you're going about honor killings, that's more
yeah,
of a cultural and religious thing, which goes way beyond what we're talking about with feminism and the like. You know.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And maybe I shouldn't have went there, you know what I mean? But I guess it's just about how does it get to that extreme from, obviously women's rights to then going to,
It's way too left field. Way too left
Yeah,
field.
it's more of a cult. It's more of a cult, like I say, a cultural and religious thing. But it's,
No,
I mean,
don't bring
that's
religion into this. Like, this is not a religious thing.
Well, I reckon it could be, but we're
No.
not talking about it though. I mean, like I say, it's jumping from because we're talking about it from a like a feminism point of view, and this has got nothing to do with it in a sense. So that
Yep.
could be a different topic for another time, maybe, but not with this one.
Okay.
To left field.
To
On
left
that
field.
note, like I've read some newspapers, because I read like some older newspapers, just have like a sense of like what's going on back in the day, right? So like in the 1920s, for example, there's been some newspaper snippets that went over prostitutes complaining about women taking their job, not literally, but due to the
Sexual
Zayden
revolution.
scandal. Yeah, it's like the moral scandals. Like in my country, it's called the Zayden scandal. Women would go to the saloon or to the bar, and just for a cheap drink, they will sleep with you, right? That's kind of like where it already started. Like if you take it to the modern day, you go to the club, you don't even have to buy a drink anymore. Just sometimes you do, but more often than not, don't really have to if you have.
It's like it makes me think, buy me a drink, stranger.
But that's kind of like how this went.
Literally it, yeah.
This is how this went 100 years ago. Like not consistently, but back then there was already like a push from prostitutes. They were like, these women are taking our jobs by just sleeping with the men for a cheap drink. And that is like the early stage of hookup culture, I would say. Like I think the mass production of the pill
It's like
condoms.
It's like the air example of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I said when you said 100 years ago, I'm like, maybe not the best example 100 years ago, because the 1920s was already an interesting place. So it's kind of like that idea, right? Once the pill and the condom became mass produced, that's when things got way out of control. Like our birth rates.
It's like with abortion as well. It provided a lot of excuses. The thing
Exactly.
is, I'm not saying the bad things, but I think people have started using them way beyond what they, what way beyond the original purpose. You know.
Yep. And I guess that's kind of like the balance, right? If you think about Mary Wollstonecraft's work, sure, men have their own responsibility, but if quote unquote a feminist wants to claim Mary Wollstonecraft as the godmother of feminism, the least you have to do is actually read the philosophy and be like, okay, are you actually going to try these things? Because I reckon, from my experience and from what I've seen and from these type of women I've spoken with, these feminists have absolutely no self-control over their emotions. More often than not, they are actually like very aggressive if anything, right?
Yeah.
Some of them are. I mean, go on.
I was going to say, I hope this is not too intrusive, Dominic, but how does it go down with that in like the red light district? Like, people controlling those emotions and whatnot.
I'm gonna be real, Dave. I have no idea.
Right. Okay.
I
Fair
have
enough.
never been there. I kind of know where this is my city. That's about it.
Yeah.
I
Do
mean,
you not hear any stories about it or anything like that, or
No,
anybody
my social
speaks about it?
circle is very conservative. We don't do these
Right.
type of things.
I've been down there once,
Okay.
and I didn't do anything because I was far too embarrassed to. But I was down there with me and my friend went down there for weeks. I was just like, let's go down to Amsterdam. Let's just see what it's like. And we had a good time. I mean, we went to like visit one of the sex museums there. But yeah, it was weird because it's like it's still open during the day as well. You still see some women in the booths and walking past.
Oh,
And
it's open 24/7.
yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was just like a night thing. But then we went back down during the night. It's like literally night and day. It was so different. But yeah, there's like I was walking down, my friend drew down one of the streets, and you had all the women in the booth, like trying to get my attention. And like she said, she was just laughing at me because she just saw me walking down, hands in my pockets, like just looking at the floor and just walking in a straight line. I refused to look around anywhere.
It's like don't look.
Yeah, I was like 23 at the time as well. It was just like she was laughing her head off, and I was just like, no, I was just like, I can't, don't look, don't make eye contact because I was shit in my pants.
But but then you'll get other people. You'll get other, people who react completely differently, and they'll go down there, and it's a free for all. They'll like look everywhere just to kind of get, a view of what's kind of going on. You know what I mean? So,
Speaking
uh,
from experience here, Dave.
not at all, not at all. Uh, but it's one of those ones that it's, I don't know. Obviously when you go down there, you probably have to make sure you're on the safe side. And I've heard stories as well. Like people have gone into these booths, and they always say before you go into these booths, make sure you agree the price before you go in, because sometimes there'll be women who will take advantage, and they'll like they'll charge you an extortionate amount for whatever act you want done on you, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Without getting too crude. But yeah,
And that can happen
so
with
you have to
anything,
make
though.
sure. Yeah, yeah. So there's things like that, but it's like getting to the emotions part. Do you think women are like degrading themselves when they're in that kind of position? You know?
I mean,
Well,
that's kind of like what we've seen in research as well. Like, there has been a lot of reactions, even from female friends I've spoken to that have done these type of behaviors, that they just feel like sluts or like whores after sleeping. This is why there's also a rise of like being given more power to women by just being able to call everything rape. That's also become
Mm,
a prevalent conversation now, where women are like, I should be able to, in the middle of the act, decide whether or not I am consenting, which is
yeah.
completely
it's like I,
ridiculous.
I think I think that's the true rape culture now. You have some feminists talking about rape culture, like men can just do it. It's like, no, the real idea is, it's like, no, you could just accuse a man of rape, and then
No, no,
that
I'm
that
talking. They're having a conversation about women being able to withdraw consent whilst in the act.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Because I've heard it's like you have like a woman who like went to a bar, one night stand, regretted it the next morning,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then said she was raped. That's what I'm saying. That's the true
Ah,
rape
okay,
culture, where
yeah.
it's, yeah.
Yeah,
That's well,
and
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
there's even sayings here now that if the woman rejects you at any point, even if she's accepted you at the start, if she then rejects you at any point, you need to pull away, because she could then call rape and legitimately go to the police and say, I didn't, consent
It's
to that.
why it's why you've got the meme of, like, if you're having sex if you're having sex, you've literally got to stop every 15 seconds and ask for consent. just,
Yeah,
just
you
to
know.
make sure.
You
And
can
it's just
you can just imagine in future you're going to get like consent forms on your phone, right? Sign here, you know what I mean, and it
no,
has to be renewed every 15
no,
minutes.
you know what? It's like that's happened in some places. It's like I've seen D&D games where if you join it, you have to sign a consent form. And it's like
Oh wow,
you are joking, right?
Yeah. There's
man.
also like this joke from Dave Chappelle, I believe, where he was making this joke about the action. He was saying, if you want your hair pulled or anything like these things, I'm just gonna give you my hand and you just do the rest. It's a
Actually,
pretty good joke.
that's not a bad one. That, yeah.
Yeah, he was fully right. Though, it's like, you want your hair pulled, no problem. I give you my hand. You put your hair in there, and you pull it yourself. I'll just hold my hand, no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But that
You
just
know,
shows how ridiculous that culture has become, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
very, very.
But then do you think it's spawning other cultures within itself as well? Like you then get the extreme ends of things, you know what I mean? And maybe again going to a wee bit extreme here, but like for example, furries and things like that. You know what I mean? Is that
Again, nothing to do with feminism, mate.
I know, but like just going on the sexual side of things, you know what I mean? And like how out of control it can get with emotions, and when people degrade themselves like that, do they then start to get
Well,
involved
the
in
thing is,
things that
the thing is, a lot of people don't see it as degrade themselves. They genuinely enjoy it. I mean,
Uh,
I think the problem when it comes to things like fairies and stuff is, like, most people don't want anything to do, just don't want it out and about, you know, as opposed to as opposed to you could do what you want in your own bedroom.
Well,
Mhm.
So
there has
I
been
think
research on this as well, where it's just too much, because we're talking about chronically online things now. It's too much, not really dopamine. I mean, dopamine is involved, but it's just gooning is maybe the best word, where they're just so
yeah.
obsessed with watching like adult content, and they're so obsessed with Like you start with the basics, right? Like you watch amateur stuff, for example, and it just keeps escalating. So the more it escalates, the more you desire, because the initial feeling is not enough. If you think about coffee, for example,
Well, any
maybe
drug.
yeah, it's like the first time you drink coffee, you're probably awake the whole day. But then after that, it's like, oh, your body gets used to it, and if you consistently do it, you crave more. And it's the same with adult content. And
I've had that
furries,
on. Yeah, I've got to say I've had that on both ends. Because oh wait, no, actually that sounds really bad.
I'm about to
I've
say,
had that
like,
on-
where are you saying that?
Given the topic, yeah.
I've had that on both sides. So with the coffee, yeah, because I used to drink a lot of coffee when I was a kid. So I get if I drink coffee now, I get none of the boost, but all of the come down after about half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also used to be addicted to porn. So
Right,
Yeah,
fair enough.
it's the same thing.
when I
Like
was
you
We've got all the
escalate that.
euphemisms here now, you know what I mean, with the come downs and all that as well.
All the
so-
addiction.
okay, no,
confessions are
that wasn't the
coming
punch. Stop it now. Stop it. Behave.
out.
But yeah. No, I used to be that. I mean, I stopped after a while. But yeah, it was just it's like you just crave that next dopamine hit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more it escalates, you get people that go to child porn, people that go to furries, which is quite literally bestiality. You have people that turn to, I don't think I should be calling these names actually. I'm two girls, one cup. I'm just going to use that then.
Oh God.
That type of stuff, right? Like it keeps escalating. Like you have the people that have all these type of fetishes where it just fully because of like there was some other research as well where the youngest age that some boys would admit to watching adult content was like 11 years old. So imagine if you start at this at 11 years old and you're now a 22-year-old man, normal things will not get you off anymore. So what do? You start searching for things that do get you off. And that's when you get into the extreme end of things. And furry is definitely something that I consider a result of extreme deprivation.
Yeah.
But again, nothing to do with feminism. But it very likely from the research that I have read is it stems from the evolving of something not being enough. So the coffee example.
Well,
And it just keeps escalating there.
I mean, you could say it was kind of born from the sexual revolution, maybe. So it
I don't know enough about that.
No,
the fact that I know these terms is already worse enough,
No, I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing here. I don't know, but it's like I could imagine that it was because traditions were made more lax. People were allowed to do more. It eventually became a case of we can just keep experimenting, and it got to the point where you said it escalated to the point where people started doing that because you had things like not a sexual thing, but things like otherkin. You heard of them?
No. I remember
Otherkin.
Something else now.
Otherkin are people who believe that they are some kind of animal, like an animal spirit. But usually like mythical beasts, like I used to be a dragon or something like that.
Yeah, that's just mental disease.
Yeah, so stuff like that would be like, I think it's related. It's this is not to do with sex or feminism again. Bit of a tangent, but this kind of thing. Well, to be fair, it was kind of stuck in its own little corner up until all stuff like fairy stuff. Then the other can start coming out a bit more. And I think the same kind of thing. I think it kind of came that it's like I can do this thing in the open now and shove it in people's faces, which most people.
Amsterdam Pride is right. Have you seen pictures of Amsterdam Pride? It's like they're walking around doing blowjobs in alleyways, wearing BDSM clothes.
I mean, that's just not just Amsterdam, to be honest. Let's be fair. That's
yeah, but I'm
a lot of the
Amsterdam
Western world
because I'm from the Netherlands.
Yeah, no, I've seen it in the UK. I've seen it in America. It's everywhere.
Yeah, bringing it back to
if
the topic.
Oh yeah, go on.
So we're going way on a tangent here. We're bringing it back to the topic. Like when it comes to like feminism in general, it's also been hijacked by Marxism, right? And this idea of like everyone needs to be the same, everyone needs to have like equal opportunity, all of those type of thing. It stems from Marxism, like communistic.
Well, no, not equal opportunity, equal outcome.
Equal, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because equal opportunity and equal outcome are two separate things.
Yeah. So taking that example from the Soviet Union, because well, they're our neighbors, right? During the Cold War, you had quotas there. So let's say you needed to make 100,000 shoes because communism was equality of everyone, right? So you need to make 100,000 shoes. So you were responsible for a factory that needed to make the leather, a factory for the oil, a factory for potentially the steel to make the nails. You needed leather for the shoe ties, all of those things. You needed an entire chain of command from all of these companies, right? So what would you do when you're given an order to make 100,000 adult boots, but there's problems in the chain of connection, and if you don't make the quota, serious things will happen. You will go sent to the gulag, all of those things, because in a equal society, that means everyone needs to do equal work, and if you can't make the equal work, that means you're a problem, which means we're going to throw you in the gulag. And the fact that feministic movements don't see the line of thought of problems with this already shows that they're not thinking long term. It's very short term thinking where they don't see the consequences of this type of behavior. Because in the long term, what we're seeing is that there is now extreme discrimination against men, sexism against men. If you think about scholarships, universities, if you think about work, like men have been degraded for decades now, and a lot of men, when they see this happen, they check out, right? Like you have the passport bro movement, which I find ridiculous. You have the incel movement, which I also find ridiculous.
What's the passport bro movement?
Yeah, I've not heard passport bro.
So the passport bro is the idea is like, as white men, we have a passport that is extremely valuable. So, for example, I'm from the Netherlands. The Netherlands is like top 5, I believe, on Earth. It's an extremely valuable passport. So what we would do is we go to like a country that is not well off. So let's say you go to Vietnam or like Thailand, countries that are not well off. Just the fact that you are there already means you have some budget, right? And just because of how valuable your passport is, it's very easy for you to get a woman. So what they do is they get a wife there, and then either they stay there or they bring them back home. And there's already been discussion within the passport bro movement. It's better to stay there because of how corrupt the West is. So if you were to have children there, problems, right? Or if your wife gets too much into feminism and all of that nonsense, problem again. So what they do is they more often they stay. Like there's been some people that do this in Central Europe, because Central Europe there's also still quite the conservative type of woman, or in Russia as well. But ever since the war, that has been kind of like dialed down, obviously.
Would the Philippines be an example of that?
Probably. And like I'm not too familiar with what they do. I just know the ideology that goes into it. The fact that they are tall white men with good income and with a very valuable passport makes them very attractive for local women that just seek opportunity, right? Like if we go back to the start of this conversation, we were talking about Archie Schwarzenegger, and I made what I said, right? Mike was bringing up like this like aristocracy type of behavior with nobles. It's the same kind of mentality. Yeah, it's the same kind of mentality where women just see it as a quick one-up.
Well, the term is hypergamy, where you want to marry up.
Yeah, yeah. So it's that type of behavior that. But I was talking about feminists, right? Or you want to go more into passport bro movement?
Would it become down to as well reproductive rights, like for the women?
Reproductive rights is a bit of a different one, because it's like everyone says, it takes two to tango. So men do play a part in the reproductive cycle as well, which, okay, women do the actual birthing, which, fair enough, that's not a comfortable thing for anyone to go through. But it's like a lot. It's like the way you get things like shotgun weddings, or some women who will try to trick a man to get her pregnant so she can marry him, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the anchor baby.
Yeah, so for that. So there's more to it than just reproductive rights, because it does go both ways. Although often the man side of it is often just completely ignored or even denigrated.
Yeah. I'm just reading a bit here about like modern campaigns and movements, and it's saying a bit about like online activism, where it's like fourth wave feminism, and it uses social media extensively to raise awareness of mobilized action against misogyny and gender-based violence. Notable examples include the Me Too movement, which we've all heard of, Yes All Women, and the Everyday Sexism Project, which collect and share personal experiences.
Yeah, but these are scraping the bottom of the barrel for problems don't exist.
like
It's
they're
like
running
it's
out of
like when,
things to do.
yeah, when it comes to misogyny, the demand far outstrips the supply. It's the same with racism and other things. The demand for racism from these people far outstrips the supply that is given, because most people don't want to be racist. Most men don't want to be misogynistic. So that's why you get things like women withdrawing consent just all of a sudden, or regretting the next day. That's where it comes from, because you have to jump through that many hoops now to say oh, misogyny. Like there are misogynists out there. You're never going to get rid of actual proper misogyny. The same way you're never going to get actual proper racism. But for the most part, at least in Western society, up until fairly recent, with all the Marxist and communist woke stuff that's come up, for the most part, this kind of thing had been pushed to the fringes.
Well, I can remember once, like off air, me and Dominic were having a conversation about, and I don't know if you remember this, Dominic, about Adolescence, that TV show on Netflix, and it was, it was quite heavily, inspired by a lot of things that were going on in the online world, and how our youth are getting introduced into these concepts and things like that, and it's quite a dangerous premise, but it's also very educational because, in some ways, you need to be aware of what children are experiencing now, growing up into these ideologies, so to speak.
I mean, that's with everything, right? Like a while ago, I also showed you this girl in Amsterdam that was assaulted, right? She was murdered by, well, not a Dutch person. I'm just going to be real. Man was not white. I've got a problem with that. I don't care. And after that, hundreds of women, maybe even thousands, went to the streets, including in my city, right? Like I think it was in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, the usual suspects, my city, Eindhoven as well, and The Hague too, obviously. And they were demonstrating, saying that this was a man's problem, specifically aiming at Dutch men.
Even though it was a foreigner.
And this is happening a lot because in the CBS, the Central Bureau of Statistics in my country, you can, for people listening, you can look it up, cbs.nl. We do know the ethnicity of like rape cases, sexual harassment cases. It's more often not the second.
We've got a similar thing over here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we know kind of where they come, and still you're still attacking the men of your own. Okay, so this is what feminism is doing. Like they're turning this into a full men play. Men have already checked out, and they're still being blamed. That's the hilarious part here.
I've got something to add to that though. It's not just feminism; it's intersectionality. So they are mixing feminism with racism in that case. Part of the you've got to mix it. So yeah, they're attack because you can't attack anybody who's not white because that makes you a racist. So you've got to attack your own country's men because they are, white, therefore part of the problem, even though they're not. So it's basically mixing two problems together.
Yeah, that's what they do. Like they run out of things, so what they do, they just escalate. Like the group that was responsible for this protest is a feminist group, not really a known one because of course they're not known, but they've been around since the 70s and they haven't really achieved anything in those 50 years because of course they don't. But they still go on the streets and go around like pretending that this is a Dutch problem. It's like, no, it's not. Most Dutch men are right wing. Like,
I mean, it's a Dutch problem in the sense of that these people are being allowed to come in and not facing repercussions for it, but it's not the Dutch men who are doing it. You get a similar thing over here. It's not English men are doing it. You're often finding a lot of English men trying to actually stop this from happening, but it doesn't happen.
But the funny thing then is that the family of the child also associated them with that group. And then I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. Because just to get the facts out, it was a 22-year-old illegal immigrant from Nigeria. So it's a man, it's an illegal from Nigeria. It's a whole combo. It's a whole combo of like nothing to do with Dutchmen. Yeah. First of all, illegal. Second of all, Nigerian. Third of all, not Dutch. Nothing to do with us, right? And then the family is like, oh, this is a societal problem. Men need to step up. I'm like, no, we don't.
I mean,
We just don't.
it is
It's not a
in a
problem
sense,
anymore.
but it is in a sense, but it's massively oversimplifying it, and I'm making a scapegoat of the wrong people.
Yep.
It is a societal problem, like I said, because they're allowing these people in and not giving not holding them to the same standards as everybody else, so they can do this with impunity. So that's
Yeah.
the societal problem, but it's not
Yeah.
that men bad or Dutch
Exactly.
men bad or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're asking
And
us
every
for action, right? So if you're talking about action, most men, especially in Gen Z and millennia, are starting to turn right wing. There is our
Yeah.
action. We've made our decision. We don't want them here.
Well, you know what makes it worse is if someone actually tried to step in and stop it, this
Yeah,
action. Yeah, you've heard about Daniel Penny, haven't you?
yeah, I have. I
Yeah.
actually wrote a
So
chapter about him as well.
yeah, I mean, do you know about Daniel Penny, David?
I don't know. What's
Okay,
this
so
about?
this was a guy in New York last year, I believe. There was some man on the train who was going crazy, threatening people. Basically acting very aggressively. Basically making the place unsafe. So Daniel Penny was on the train eventually because he used to be a Marine or he's basically in the U.S. Armed Forces somewhere. Basically puts the guy in a headlock to incapacitate him. The guy unfortunately dies. I mean, but that wasn't the intention. But he was choked out and then died later. And basically because he was a black man. He was also, very mentally deranged. He was probably hopped up on drugs or something as well, which has probably contributed towards his death. But instead of being hailed as a hero, Daniel Penny was brought to court for murder, and he's still going through the court proceedings now. He's basically, basically trying to do the right thing.
It's done. The case is done.
I know. I thought they were
So-
trying to. I thought they were trying to appeal it to try and overturn the case. So that's what I mean. He's still going through it.
But
I mean,
he's been
I
declared
know.
not guilty. He's not guilty though. Like the trial is done.
Yeah, but I thought they
No?
were appealing the case.
Why? If it's not guilty, why would you appeal?
No,
Does he
the
want to go to
prosecution. No,
prison?
I mean, the DA's office was trying to overturn. Yeah, no,
Okay,
because obviously Daniel Penny's team don't want to appeal the decision. Yeah,
Yeah, I was about to say, like, why
I'm
would you
not
appeal?
guilty. I want
yeah,
to go back to court.
yeah. I should have specified that. Yeah, but
I
I
was
think
like, what?
yeah,
Where are we going with
I
this?
think, but the thing is, like, the DA in New York is
I mean, it's New
massively
York.
corrupt. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows New York's a corrupt state, especially the Southern District of New York. But yeah, basically, someone who tries to do the right thing and protect others gets put through the ringer, while this deranged person, who just happened to be black, is basically lionized. And I remember seeing articles at the time. They were showing pictures. You notice the media do this a lot. They'll show pictures of the guy who was at a better time in his life. Usually when he was at school or something. So they have more. They have more impactful pictures, because if you look at a picture of the guy now, he clearly looks like a guy who.
Do they not call it mitigation? Is that the word?
No, not mitigation. But that's right. It's manipulation more, actually, manipulative photos.
Right. Okay.
Because it's like, yeah, they show when he was at his prime in school. He's doing good, as opposed to this deranged, disheveled, homeless person on drugs that he was. So obviously, he's not going to have. They've easily got mugshot photos of him because he's been in prison. Been arrested several times. So they're not going to show any of those because it'll show him being, it doesn't show him in a very good light. But instead, they'll show pictures of him being, in a much better time of his life, because it gets more of a positive reaction of people. And because the idea is they want people to go like, what a terrible person for killing this poor black man. It's like, no.
Yeah.
It's like you have a similar thing, with the what was it, Arena Juice? I can't pronounce the name of it. I can't remember the name.
Ariana Grande?
No, not Ariana Grande, you muppet.
You said Arena. Sorry, I just.
Irina, not Ariana. Irina's she's a Ukrainian woman who was stabbed in America a few months ago. The blonde woman. And it was a black man. And you had a lot of these people going like, oh well, it's look at the poor black man. It's like the dude's like a career criminal off his face on drugs and murdered a woman in cold blood, and you're trying to sympathize with him instead of the woman that got killed. I mean,
That's just the overboard, you know.
where's the feminists at that point? You didn't hear a word from feminists then.
That's a snake eating its own tail. Like, they have to double down in order to remain the illusion. Like, there was a feminist woman in the 2006, I believe, who was so convinced that men had it easy in life that she disguised herself.
Yeah, she did it for a year, didn't she?
Yeah, she disguised herself, went into the corporate ladder to prove that men have it easy. Because, well, I saw what she looked like when she was makeup and everything. She did look like a guy. I'm just gonna be real. She looked like a man.
No, I see in the thing. Yeah, I agree.
So in that video, she came over the conclusion that it's horrible. She was treated like absolute garbage, and I'm like, yeah, welcome to the men life. Like, we know how it is because we know each other's competition.
We live
Men unconsciously create a hierarchy. So when you have not experienced that your entire life and you suddenly enter our world pretending to be a man, you're in for a very rude awakening because we will chew you alive. Like, this is not a friendly place.
Yeah, it's why when you get feminists who want to say, "Oh, we want equal parity in the workplace," they only do it for the cushy office jobs. You know, they don't want the parity in actual proper hard jobs like construction or sewage work or bin men or something. I've never seen a bin woman in my entire life. I've seen plenty of bin men taking out the bins and stuff.
I've seen a few. But the point I was trying to make was not this. Like, it was more to take an example, right? Because she did these things thinking that it was so dear, and you were in such a bubble, right? So you have this illusion. Your mind has created this idea for you, and it's because fantasy, of how the fantasy was broken to such an extreme, she was never the same, and she actually went through assisted suicide because she just could not live with this. Her entire idea,
on it or make a film.
I'm not entirely sure. I just saw the video, like it was like a sort of a documentary. I think it was not a film, but a documentary. And she went to assisted suicide because she just could not deal with the consequences of just how wrong her view for men was. Like, men have a very competitive nature.
And as bad as it was as well, I think there's probably some guilt in there because she probably treated men like shit up until that point.
Yeah, like, that wouldn't surprise me, but it just shows for that situation with the Ukrainian getting stabbed on the bus. These people see the black man and they're like, I have to double down, otherwise the illusion shatters.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance, isn't it? It's like there was another one as well. I don't know the name of this woman, unfortunately, but there was another incident similar to that where a black man. I don't actually know if she was killed, but she was attacked by a guy with a knife on a train, and the exact same thing happened there. And this guy was actually worse of a career criminal than the other guy from the arena one, because this guy had like 30 arrests or 30 convictions or something like that. That speaks to another problem with the whole soft on crime thing. You know, at some point you need to be taken off the streets, but it's like, how can you? It's like, it honestly baffles me. I can understand that people do it, but the why of it baffles me. I cannot conceive of people genuinely believing that way. To say, like, I've got to double down on this. If it's just because I'm not in that bubble, and I just can't.
Yeah.
But I say I can't conceive it. I can't imagine it, even though I understand that it's happening. It's a very weird thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
I can take it to
people...
the extreme because the idea is very similar, right? Like, being a Christian myself, like, let's say there comes to the point where the Book of Revelation comes to true, but then the Muslims ended up being right. Let's just say that my brain is gonna do a whole lot of holy goddamn what though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about that. Well, me being an atheist as well, I'd be like, holy shit, I've been wrong about a lot of things my entire life.
But that's what I mean. It's the same kind of idea. Like, you have this idealism, and if that suddenly gets shattered to such an extreme, it doesn't matter on what side you're on. It's just gonna be like, damn.
For me,
sometimes. Sorry, I was going to say, sometimes the way that you present yourself to people is built upon your belief system and your morals. If that turns out to be wrong, then automatically you're going to be on the defensive. Like,
Well, yeah,
fuck,
you'll feel
yeah,
very
you'll feel
uncomfortable.
stupid. Yeah.
I think with me, at least, if that kind of thing actually happened, I wouldn't be as bad as most people would be, like at least actual religious people, because while I am an atheist, I don't make that a massive part. So it's like if I was proven wrong, I'd be like, okay. I'd be more like, holy shit, what's going on? But I wouldn't be like uncomfortable, like I'd messed up. I'd be like, okay, I just need to adjust, you know?
I mean, if the book is right, then you're not going to have a good time. So,
well, I mean, if that happens, I will have to face that.
yeah.
You know, I mean,
But
I've got no choice at that point. So there's no point
Yeah.
crying over spilt milk.
I was just more taking the extreme example for being a Christian and the Muslims. For the atheist, it's you don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd be more. Well, it's because I'm not a militant atheist. Because you get some people like really militant atheists. It's like I'm just an atheist, but I'm not against people being religious. You know, believing in God. So I'm all like, if it turned out that God was real and religion was true, I'd be like, okay, well, I fucked up, but I will just move on with my life with this.
No, you're not moving on.
Well, no,
No,
I mean, no, I'm not. I'm not saying with like revelation. I'm just saying if proof came out that it was true.
Oh,
but
yeah,
like
yeah,
if it was revelations like the end times, you're like, okay, well, I fucked up. If I get a chance to apologize, I'll take it. But if not, well, too bad I fucked up. I'll deal with that in hell. You know.
Yep, and then the ground opens up beneath him and he drops down.
Or it's not even hell, or it depends on the interpretation, but your soul itself gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Or end up in
There's nothing
purgatory or something like that. Yeah.
No, like the soul itself gets destroyed, so that means your entire existence itself vanishes.
That, to be fair, that wouldn't be too bad.
I mean, that is kind of what atheists believe in, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not even that. It's like I'd rather have complete cessation of existence than an eternity of torture. You know.
Yeah, it's fair. But it's that kind of an example. Like if your worldview gets shattered to such an extreme, then the consequences are severe. Like if you're an atheist but you don't really care, it's kind of different. But
I think it's more of how much you invest yourself into that world.
She was extremely invested, right?
Yeah, because when it comes to the atheism part, I mean, it's my belief, but I'm not like, oh, my entire life revolves around this. But you have someone like the feminist woman. She's based a lot of, like, you get it with a lot of woke people in general now, like Marxists. Yeah. They base their entire life around one thing or one or two small things, which they then have to defend so ferociously, because if they don't, their entire worldview, it's a literal house of cards.
Well, for me, like, it doesn't matter how big or small it is. If you have been challenged on something and you're wrong, then you need to take accountability for it and say, right, okay, I was wrong, and change your train of thought. But it's very hard for people to do that, and I think there's a degree of narcissism involved in that as well. You know what I mean? Like, people don't want to change their beliefs or change their line of thinking because. Yeah, they don't want to be wrong.
They want to be on the losing side. I think that's better way to take it.
Human. That's probably our human nature, where we're very competitive with each other. You know what I mean? So therefore, we don't want to be wrong.
I'd say it's not necessarily being competitive, but when we say losing side, it's more like on a moral thing. You get to say, well, I'm the good one. I'm the moral one here. So that's what they mean when
I hate
by
that
the losing
so much.
side. What?
The fun. I'm the right one in history, you know, that type of.
Oh yeah, no. I anyone who uses the right side of history unironically is usually on the wrong side of history.
I hate that
because that term gets used to justify so many things.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
but it does bring it back to like the whole topic, right? Like feminism in itself. Like if you think about what Mary Wollstonecraft stood for, and what they currently stand for, is just. So much has been hijacked that even I don't understand anymore what they're trying to achieve. But I think that's the same for them. I don't think they actually know what they're trying to achieve anymore.
Well, it's like the thing. It's always moving the goalposts. It's like when it comes to racism, for example, like the things like microaggressions. It's like such little inconsequential things that mean literally nothing in any standard interaction with a person is suddenly now meant to be a massive insult. And it's like, you're that desperate to keep yourselves relevant and give yourself some kind of like cultural clout and power that you have to scrape the bottom of the barrel for this kind of thing. So the same thing with the feminists, like withdrawn consent. I remember there was this one thing with an autistic guy who was looking at a woman, but looking at her kind of funny because obviously he's autistic, and she got uncomfortable, and then there was a big Me Too thing about it. This was a few years ago, and yeah, I'll have to try and get the details later because I only vaguely remember this happened. But yeah, it's like a stupid thing. It's like she was like, if a woman's made vaguely uncomfortable, that's grounds for shouting sexual assault. It's like, get lost. It's like, you could be made. I mean, put it this way, like having the whole, like you were saying before about having your worldview shattered. I mean, at the very least, that's going to be uncomfortable for anyone.
Yeah,
like with me, if it turned out like that God was real, going back to what we were saying before, I'd be very uncomfortable because I'd said to a lot of people, I don't believe in God. I mean, it wouldn't be world shattering. I wouldn't be like trying to kill myself or something. I'd be like, I might have to make a few apologies. It'd be uncomfortable for it. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's like it's not a nice thing to have your worldview challenged. I mean, even if we argue about stuff, it's never nice to be like having someone completely refute your point of view.
Yeah,
but it's a necessary thing, and you need to.
But that's the only way we learn, right? Is by being challenged.
That's healthy debate, yeah. Like healthy debate. That's kind of like where you need to draw the line.
I think that's why these people refuse. I mean, look at what happens to Charlie Kirk. The dude was open to honest debate, and then he was killed for it because these people they're so adamant in having their worldview be supreme that they cannot countenance having it challenged even the slight. They can't. It's not even having a challenge. They can't have people doubt it. So they will just throw the biggest hissy fit and refuse to engage, except with violence.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. But that is kind of like where we're at. I think there's too many ideological vacuums in our society, and I mean there are
Well, you've got that, but also.
Sorry, just to interject. I think even now there is violence in words, and that's where cancel culture is coming from, and people are going online to cancel people because of the words they've used. You know what I mean? So
well, that's what they said. They say words of violence, so that they're taking things to an extreme.
Yeah, word for word.
Yeah, but they take it to a ridiculous extreme, and it's where they use it as justification to go after you. It's stupid. It's another subversion to be a weapon. It's like when they call you a racist or a Nazi or something like that. It's because I don't think they genuinely believe that you are those things, but it's just so they could designate you as a target now.
But it's the illusion that the pen is stronger than the sword. It's not. The sword will always be stronger. It just depends on when it gets drawn, and usually in the past few hundred years we've seen it gets drawn for revolutions that are extremely bloody. And I think like, if you are a feminist, that is the thing you should be trying to avoid. But they're not. They're trying to double down. They're creating situations that are just heavily for both sides. It's not just for the men. Like the feminists are hurting themselves as well. It's like the Pokemon game, right? You hurt yourself in confusion. That's actually what they're doing.
Actually, no, that's a good one.
Yeah, because that's the way I look at it. Like, I understand their point, and this is why I started reading up on Mary Wollstonecraft, because I was like, because in the Quran, in the Muslim faith, they do treat women very different to how Christians have been treating their women. And that's just because in Christianity, the lines have not been clear enough in how exactly we should go about this. We just have a few examples, and that's what you got to do with it, and that's just not sufficient. So you get a lot of denominations that don't agree on certain things, right? Whereas Mary Wollstonecraft herself made an excellent point that I can actually get behind, where most women will not do what she's advocating because they just won't. It's an extreme requirement that even men don't really want to, which is self-discipline, taking control of your emotions, and men just have it easier when it comes to controlling emotion, but women don't. Like, I have sisters. The moment they're on their periods, my sisters turned into devils when I was younger, right? Not a good time. I don't have this problem with men, and I just don't think women understand.
The problem is, I just don't think you've met a man on his period.
I think I don't want to either. I don't want to either, man.
Apparently, men do have periods. There is times when they're Hormones
No,
are
that's just stupid fiction now.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Again, it's people trying to
Is
have
my
a word.
worldview being challenged here? Am I
Yes.
wrong?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're wrong. You're wrong. Again,
You're very wrong.
again,
I'll accept that I'm wrong then.
yeah.
Don't make
It's
me
people.
bring up the Mayan calendar again, Dave.
Oh Christ's sake, not again. Yeah.
You had to put it in there.
Yeah, dude. Wherever that came from, I never forget that one.
Yep. For anybody who wants to go back and listen to that episode, they can do and make.
Yeah. In fact, let's
make
do one. In fact, let's do one better. Let's give them a timestamp. We'll
Yeah.
find it. We'll put a timestamp in the
We'll
comments.
put it in the comments. That's absolutely.
Pin it as well. Pin it.
Pin it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just that type of thing, right? Like, we've reached a stage where there's too many factions trying to fight each other, and that just turns into tribal warfare, which then turns into mob rule, right?
Well, we're always in tribe. We're always in tribes. It's just like the latest iteration of it.
Yeah, but it's also like the differences does lead against continuity. Because normally when a tribe like had their warfare, if you go back thousands of years, right, it did mean for the greater good of the tribe to have continuity, but birth rates are the only judge that I follow. If your ideology doesn't spawn birth rates, that means your ideology has nothing to stand on. Like modern society, Western society.
Unless you can convert a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, but modern society, Western society, heavily relies on the birth rates of the conservative immigrants families that are coming here, conservative refugee families that are coming here, and the conservative natives that are still here. That's where the real birth rates are. And for example, my brother has 4 children. My little sister has 1, and she's a lot younger than I am, so she's probably going to have more than 1 as well. And that builds up, right? We are a conservative family, and they need to somehow steal our children into their ideology, otherwise it doesn't function. And that's the Ouroboros. The Ouroboros are feasting on its own, and if it can't anymore, it needs other children in order to keep spawning the same vicious cycle.
Well, it becomes parasitical at that point.
Exactly, and that's exactly what has happened in our current society. Feminism started with good things, same with socialism, right? They start with good ideas, and it just spawns into such an abomination that it devours our own society.
Well, again, it's like they say the road to hell, right?
Yep, pretty much.
Souls paid for good intentions. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. If
So
we need to clarify that, but
yeah, to wrap things up, anything else that needs to be added? Because feminism is obviously a very controversial topic, despite the fact it shouldn't be. It should be an open topic and everything.
We're probably going to cancel for this anyway, so yeah, never mind.
yeah, the YouTube algorithm will step in and just
yeah. It was nice knowing you guys.
It was nice knowing
It
you
was
guys.
nice having a podcast.
It's been a good run.
Yeah.
Nothing from my side. I think pretty much clarified everything in terms of what we were speaking about, and got a good understanding of what kind of feminism is. So yeah, thank you.
I mean, I learned a bit, so I'm happy with that.
All right, good. Until next week.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
See you later.
Episode of the podcast is sponsored by my book, We Stand on the Shoulders of Titans, Amnesia.